This afternoon, we are welcoming the wonderful Twyla Dell back up to the stage. As you know, she's talked to us about evolution. She's talked to us about Santa Claus. She's talked to us about geology and the history of the world. Today, the question is, do we know an energy transition when we see one? Can we point to sustainability and say, ha, that's it? Do we know what our city is doing to support climate protection? Most importantly, is there a guide for us to follow, a way for us to lead? Our speaker today will answer these questions and more. Please welcome Twyla Dell.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mike Huey has a magazine here to pick up afterwards. It's Yes. Where are you, Mike? Mike, yes, he has. This is a wonderful magazine, and it's called After Oil. We're all going to live, if we live that long, in the after oil age. We need to get acquainted with that. So please make your way to him and get a copy. I'm going to start up close and personal this morning with how many of you have breakfast of a day? Come on. We're going to do a lot of playing here. I need you to get funny with me. All right, good. Very good. And how many of you have a day like this? Even if you're sitting at the desk. Does it look like this? Nobody has a day like this? I mean, you're not physically running, but you're running, right? You're burning energy, right? Okay, how many of you do this? Well, never mind. We know, we all do this, don't we? But this is the cycle that we do on planet Earth. We take fuel in, we burn energy, and then we have this thing at the end, right? Whether it is waste, bodily waste, or carbon dioxide, we have something to take care of afterwards, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Would you believe this? 54% of Johnson County's budget goes to processing waste water. That's a lot of money, right? A lot of money. Wouldn't it be better to use 54% for the library, for God's sake, huh? Of course, we'd be floating in things other than books, I suppose, but think about it. That's a lot to spend on wastewater. And today we're going to learn the difference between fuel and energy. We've been through all of that. Okay, we're going to take one more ride on the cosmic bus. How many new people here today have never been here before? Oh, so tentatively raising your hand. All right, good. The cosmic bus means that we're going to get on and take a ride through a piece of history, only 500 years today, you'll be pleased to know. So get your seatbelt. Everybody come on, we all play. Get your seatbelt, click it on the opposite hip, clickety-click, and away we go. First place we go is the Climate Summit. We have all these wonderful things on the screen that we're going to do, and this guy says, well, what if it's a big hoax and we create a better world for nothing? Well, we're always going to be creating a better world, always. We have always been creating a better world, more convenience, more laziness, more stuff, and we're going to keep doing that until we somehow learn how to do something else. So what today we're going to talk about is fuel. Fuel, everybody, 2 syllables. Fuel. All right, and that looks like this. Everybody go like this. You're going to be a fire. Okay, fire. And then energy. Energy looks like this. Go like this. Come on, energy. This is making things work, right? Now this is the trick. Can you do the 2 things together? Who can do this? Stand up. Let me see somebody who's doing this. All right, girl, you go for it. Okay. Now, can you do it in the opposite hand? That's the trick, huh? Fuel and energy powers our world, and this is the way we burn it. We burn calories. Nothing like sweaty men naked to the waist, huh? And yes, and so they're burning calories, we're burning coal, We are burning oil, we're burning natural gas. There is a fire going somewhere all the time. That hot box we live in, we call a house, apartment, trailer, it is wired for the fuel that we have today. It is designed, our whole society, our whole infrastructure is wired for that. Now here is our energy cake. By the way, how many of you brought cake today? Thank you. You and I are it. Okay, look. This is it. I brought a cake from Costco. It took 2 men to carry it in. It's big. It's chocolate. It has 2 pounds of custard in it. I ain't taking it home. So we are going to have a chocolate custard cake communion. All right? I have enough cake here so that everybody can have 1 square inch of chocolate custard cake. You may not leave without it. All right? On the way out, we'll all take a little bite of cake and we'll commit to the future of our children who are going to have our cake and eat it too. Right? All right. So this is our energy cake. Petroleum, carbon dioxide emissions are 42%. The coal is 34%, and the natural gas is 22%, which is why we're moving toward natural gas as a bridge fuel toward these solar and wind age we hope we can construct in time to get there. Because petroleum, wonderful as it is, fabulous fuel, is just giving us too many problems in carbon dioxide emissions. So here is an energy transition. We're going to experience this today. It is the point at which more or less energy is available to do work based on the kind and amount of fuel available. Everybody read that underlined part with me, will you? Based on the kind and amount of fuel available. I want you to remember that. That is the basis of your existence. We have the style of life we do today because of the kind, which happens to be fossil fuel, and oil, which is the densest, and amount. We have plenty of it. We're awash in it so that we can have the kind of life that we want. When we go into the future, remember, kind and amount of fuel available. Okay, here's how we stack up as a polluter. The big, got me one of these. All right, can you see that? The big piece here is the rest of the world. This next piece is China. The smaller piece, the 17%, is us. That's this one here. The first time we've been glad that China outdoes us in anything. Then we get down to European Union, India, Russia, Japan, Canada, and Brazil is this smart little number in the purple. So this is the way the pollution breaks down for the world, and we have enough that we need to be taking care of it. What is a fuel transition? A fuel transition is the point at which the dominant fuel is replaced by another. And I'm going to show you a little bit of history right here. Can you all see this board? You can see the screen. Can you all see the screen all right? Okay. So, I started this graph over here in 1607 when the British landed in Jamestown, what would become Jamestown, Virginia. 1607, Queen Elizabeth had just died, so they named the state after her, Virginia, Virgin Queen. Of course, we know she wasn't, but nevertheless. Then Jamestown for the new King James, who would bring out the Bible in 5 or 6 years. And so they were here to plant tobacco. And this is Pocahontas and John Smith territory here. So this is a wood age. This is fuel here, wood age. All wood all the time, why not? It was an almost virginal country with about 4 million Indians living on it. And even though they had modified it, there were plenty of trees. Europe was already stripped of trees. So along here around 1701, they start digging for coal because they'd already cut down all the trees in 100 years around Jamestown. And then around 1758, they started shipping coal north to cities like Baltimore and New York and Boston because they'd already cut all their trees around the city, which is what happens when you live in the wood age, right? And then all of a sudden we have this precipitous rise coal, and an equal and opposite decline in wood. So what happened here? Well, we're into the early 1800s here, and we've already fought 2 wars to stay away from being a British colony. And so they didn't want to be a colony. They wanted to be their own manufacturers. They had to start creating and manufacturing in America iron, big time, steel. And so they began to use coal, and then they began to build railroads, and railroads carry coal in order to burn coal. And so this took off like so. Meanwhile, in 1859, oil was not discovered. Oil had been around for thousands of years. They knew about it, but they couldn't get it out of the ground. That must have been so frustrating. All they could do was to throw a blanket on an oozing puddle and squeeze it and get a few drops out. So they got the oil out of the ground, and of course this was a big problem because it was liquid fuel. They'd never had liquid fuel. It gushed out of the ground. They went, whoa, wait, we're not ready. And they dug these big ponds to fill it, and it covered everybody. And then they didn't have a barrel to put it in. They had to take the fish barrels, they had to take the whale oil barrels, and then they had to get it to the railroad. And how would they do that? And then they had to build a pipe out of wood because it was, as we would say over here, the discovery and development is something that takes time. You have to create all of this kind of stuff. How do we get it from one place to another? Who's going to buy it? Who's going to translate it into a product? Is there an end user who wants to use it? And no, what they use that for in this period right here from 1859 to 1900 was for lighting, because they didn't have an internal combustion engine to use it, but they did need light, so they created lamps. Everybody had a lamp, and they saved the whales from extermination, to simplify history. So all of a sudden, as you can see, in about 1900, oil takes off like crazy. What happened? Yeah, internal combustion engine, and everybody wanted one, right? Yeah. Okay, so right here, oil takes off, coal goes up here, and then comes down. So first we have one fuel transition here, then we have another fuel transition here. Do you follow me? This is a fuel transition, when one fuel dominates, another crosses over to dominate. Now right here, I'll show you later, we're about to see coal take second place to natural gas. I ended this graph in 2007, but 2016, it is just happening. This is really exciting. Okay, now this is where you and I are going to go back in time, back to before we knew much about the Americas, and the Indians lived there, lots of Indians, and they walked everywhere. By the way, I want you all to get out your cell phones. Just slip them out of your pockets. Don't turn them on. Keep them off. No reading, no talking, no texting. Well, we're going to experience a couple of energy transitions. Now, this is for the men in the audience. You are going to give these poor folks their first energy transition. Here is a guy, he looks really cool, right? Got feather thing going on, got the moccasins and the tail. Do you notice the tail? Little tail and back. I mean, he's as cool as he knows how to be, and he's as tall as he's going to be, and he's on foot. So men, take out your cell phone, and we're going to romance it a little. Put it up here like this. We do love it, don't we? What are you doing? Don't make a call. Okay, yes, we love it. This is your kingdom, isn't it? This is your empowerment. Oh my God, do we love this? We are king of the hill with this phone. There's more communication, more vista, and you're so cool using it. Oh, the chicks love it. Got to have the latest model, right? All right, so men, now I want you to put it between your knees. Hold it tight, I don't want you to lose, don't want you to drop it. Put it between your knees. Hold your hands like this. Okay, I have to get, hold that pose. Hold up, pose. This is your stored energy package. We're doing magic with this. You ready? Read with me. You got like this? 1, come on. 1, 2, 3, giddy up. I don't know if that'll work. You weren't very strong, but well, let's see. What did you do? Oh, look what you did. You gave this man a horse. Is he much cooler? I mean, the horse to the American Indian is what the cell phone is to us. It gave him stature. He looked cool. How many of you have ridden a horse? Huh? Okay, you know what it's like to be on a horse, isn't it? It's cool. You may be scared to death, but nevertheless, to others you look cool. And you know that this 1,200-pound beast is going to do what you ask it to do, right? Hello, right? Hello, horsey, giddy up. And so this was so thrilling to the Americans when the Indians, when they first saw the Spanish with the horse, they said, I want me one of those. Didn't they? And they didn't know what it was, and they didn't have words for it. They said, that's a very big dog. That's a very big dog. And they called it elk dog. And they acquired them as quickly as they could, and they traded them, or bred them, and stole them. They loved it. Hot stuff, that horse. Good work, men. Now, all of the men stand up. All the men stand up. Come on, come on, come on. Women, give them a hand. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Let me feel a little sugar here. Yeah. Good job. By the way, standing up, you just experienced an energy transition. You used a little more energy. There was a little spurt of calorie burning there, and that's why they call it exercise, right? Okay. So now, women, the men saved this guy from a low energy life. They gave him this stored energy package. Oh my God, did that massage their egos. And you took your bow. And so now I got to tell you a little story, and that the women are going to use their cell phones for. This is a map of the U.S. in 1820. Interesting map because it reflects a political problem just like we have now. It's called the Missouri Compromise. You've heard of it? So Maine, up here in the north, was just admitted into the Union to balance, this was the compromise in the Senate, to balance bringing Missouri in as a slave state in 1820. A big hullabaloo. I mean, the carrying on just as bad or worse than what we're seeing now. And so all of these numbers here are who voted for what. And this is the slave South, this is the free North. And over here is Indian territory. They'd moved all of the Indians off the East Coast, and of course there were some already living here. Here is Kansas City. Right there as the river goes up. Do you see it? And so one enterprising man, Francois Choteau, decided he was going to open a fur trading post there. The Choteaus had been fur traders for a couple hundred years in St. Louis. And why not? I mean, there was this huge funnel of territory coming right down to the river right here, a few blocks away. And so how was he going to get up the river was a big question. Well, he was going to take a keel boat. Now, there's never been any going up the river at all, except for occasionally the Vikings, the Egyptians maybe, but most of the time you walked up the river and you floated down. So what we have here is how Choteau got from St. Louis to Kansas City. It took a week or more, and these men just worked their buns off. Now you can see that they are leaning into a pole. They had an ash pole about 15 feet long with a knob on it, which they put into their chest, and they leaned, pushed. They had cleats on that running board to push the boat upriver. Each one of those men was responsible for 3,000 pounds worth of fur, equipment, whatever was on there, to get it upriver every day. And if they were lucky, they'd make 10 or 15 miles, and if they didn't, they only made 3 or 4. Sometimes they didn't make any, because the Missouri was a mean and nasty river. You know, the old adage, it was too thin to plow, too thick to drink, and it had all of these submerged logs in it, had a fast current, 3 to 5 miles downriver. How are you going to get up? The banks were all crazy. Well, there's more to this, but we won't go into it. Anyway, so these men made 80 cents a day. That was an astounding wage because soldiers in the army only made 20 cents a day. So these guys were big earners, right? All right. So women, you got your what did I call it? Stored energy package out. You got it, girls? Okay, good. We're going to do this. Now, we're going to romance our phone. Oh my God, has this given us freedom? Hot bitch. Right? Doing more things than we should. We love it. Would you be without it? No. Whatever bill you can't pay, you pay this one, right? Gotta have it. Communication, Vista. You got it, right? Okay, girls, hold it right here, right where it's supposed to be. And we're going to release these men from that kind of hard work. Ready? All ready. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Work less, earn more. Yes. All right, that was a rehearsal. This time I want to hear it, ladies. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Work less, earn more. All right, stand up, women. Stand up. Stand up. Have your bow, men. Give them a. They did this for you. You are earning more today because of what they did, huh? They just said it to you. Work less, earn more. And look at what you created. Oh, this is you standing up. And this is what you saved them from. And this is what they got. A wedding cake of a steamboat. Now, ladies, you and I can promenade on the deck in our beautiful gowns, bonnet, parasol, because we created this. The keelboat could only take about 20 tons. This could take 200 tons. You see how that just multiplied the trade on the western rivers. All of a sudden, Kansas City was hot. 750 steamboats landed at the dock in Kansas City before the Civil War in one season. I think it was 1856, somewhere in there. So this is what they got. And can you believe that they could leap from the keelboat to the steamboat because wood became motive power. Motive power means that it turned an engine for the first time in history. Up until then, you threw a log on a fire and you got heat, right? But you did not get motion unless somebody jumped away. So now all of a sudden you can throw it in there and it creates a head of steam and the steam turns the wheel and the 200-ton boat can go upstream. A huge increase in energy. You got it? Do you understand energy? Energy transition, standing up, sitting down. This is an energy transition because we were still in the wood age, we're still burning wood. We had a huge increase. Okay, now we're in the coal age. We can only use those trees so long before they just give out. Can't wait 30 years for them to replant and grow up. So we have child and animal labor was very common. And that's how we got to the next level of fuel. 2 syllables. Fuel, thank you. That was an echo. Okay, so what did the trees become? They became pillars for the coal age. We just used the remaining trees to line the tunnels so we could get to the coal. Now, coal is problematic. Needed a train to pull it. So the train burns coal and you pull coal with it. This is a modern coal mine. Whoever thought of using white in a coal mine? I can't imagine. White uniforms. And this is a modern machine. It has come a long way. No more animals, no more child labor. And this is a big jaw chewing up that side of coal there and putting it on the conveyor belt. It has become completely mechanized, although many small mines are still kind of hand labor and combinations. Now, this is mountaintop mining. Have you heard of this? Mountaintop? Yes. It's what it looks like. See the mountain in the background shivering in its boots waiting to be taken down like this? Yeah, and then this is what it looks like when you get down in there. Now, this truck full of coal, if you will follow that road, whoa, baby, come back here. Okay, right here, takes, it starts out in this pit down here, takes this road all the way up here to get to the railroad siding where it dumps into the railroad cars. Then the railroad cars travel a long way, Montana to here, and then they go to the electric plant where they are again dumped and sorted and burned, and you and I have electricity. So it's not an easy process to have what we have. Energy is kind of an invisible thing, but we pay a tremendous price for it. Is this a big truck? Yes. Very big truck, huh? Okay. So now we've got the oil coming on, big time. And we have these men not working nearly as hard as those keelboat men, just don't have to work that hard. Although this is labor, there's no doubt about it. We have an oil refinery that turns the oil into every kind of product we can imagine, including plastic, a one-way traffic ticket. And we have pipelines all over the country made of steel. And so now we're here, and what we realize is that over time, that oil that oozed all over the ground came through this, figured out how to be used, and up here it had to fight with coal over who was going to do what. Coal went into electricity, oil went into internal combustion engine. But in the late 1800s in Kansas City, they had 3 different electric companies at once competing with each other. And on a Saturday night, one of them would go out and cut down the poles of the other company. That was called competition, right? So they had to sort that out. And so this is real. This is very, very, very complex, very rough and ready. And now as we get coal to come down this other side, coal, Peabody Coal went bankrupt this week. I mean, who would ever have thought? 30,000 miners laid off. Are they going to be outfitted with computers and we're going to teach them how to do word processing? And it's a big shift. The ground under our feet is going to shift constantly in this regard. We have no ways of even predicting. Not just new fuel, job training equipment, markets, all of that has to be figured out. Everything has to come up here like this. Now I want to talk to you about my man, AMORY LOVINS. Oh, let's see, I have a book of his in here. AMORY LOVINS is a prophet. If he had been born 2,500 years ago, there would be a book named after him in the Old Testament, which is full of prophecy, right? But he's modern. He has a degree from Harvard and Oxford. He is president of the Rocky Mountain Institute in Boulder. He has written 30 books. He is the go-to guy on the future of fuel and energy. This is his book, Reinventing Fire. And I want you to remember his name. Everybody say AMORY LOVINS. Everybody? AMORY LOVINS. I want you to go home this afternoon and find him, Google him, and find his TED Talk. Do you know what a TED Talk is? All right, TED stands for Technology, Entertainment, Design. So you Google AMORY LOVINS, and you will get to his TED Talk. It looks like this, except he'll be on it instead of somebody else. And one of the things that he says is elegant frugality. That's a lovely phrase, and he is wonderful at poetic language. But what does elegant frugality look like? We don't exactly know yet. It's not meagerness, it's not poverty, but it's simplification of some kind. Does that make sense? Kind of giving up the take, make, waste economy. Okay. What if we could get energy to do our work without working our undoing? This is one of AMORY's lovely little poetic things to say. And now the truth about your future. That's my word. Made it up myself and proud of it. Okay, by 2020, Kansas is going to look like this, right? Cornfields, solar power panels, wind turbines, right. Now, this is what I told you about. Over here on the right here is where coal is going to go down and natural gas is going to go up. This is momentous. We have made progress. Is this good? Yay, come on, this is good. You want to celebrate these victories, okay? And so now we've got renewables coming up. But renewables are only 8%. That's not enough, folks. Somehow we have to get renewables. They're still here. And we need to get them up here. This is hugely complicated. And we need to get them up here. By, say, 2050, we need to be halfway there with renewables. And we're at 8%. Okay, so here, this is your future. This is history. 2010, you had 10% renewables. Then over here, this is the model. And over here, you have 27% renewables in 2040. That's 24 years from now. I don't think it's enough. I think we need to be at 50% renewables by 2050 because I personally think the momentum of climate change is going to increase in such a rate that we cannot afford to sit and look and think maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, still got time, that kind of argument. Oh, so Kansas City, this is their program, and they do very well. I was pleased. When I discovered it, I was very impressed. This is their logo. How many of you live in Kansas City itself? Casey Moe, good. This is your city. The other cities around are doing the same kind of thing. And so this is the climate protection plan. They set a goal to reduce 30% of the carbon dioxide that we're burning by 2020, blah, blah, blah. I can never follow my way through that statement, but you get the idea. They reduced it by 25% by 2013. That's excellent. That is the municipal government, by the way. We only reduced our use by 4%, same period of time. Okay. Climate protection plan. This is from the city. First of all, they accepted the invitation. This is a U.S. Council of Mayors put this together. Kay Barnes, you remember Kay Barnes? Mayor Kay Barnes? She signed on right away. Mark Funkhauser came back and signed on in 2008. And Slide James says he embraces sustainability. What more can you ask from your leaders? This is wonderful. What sustainability really is. Okay, reaching a steady state in which we replace what we use as we use it. That is sustainability. No more throwaway. Replant, reuse, repurpose, recover. They won an award for Climate Action Champion. And this is the clean air for Kansas City. And yes. And then, but Kansas City Power and Light is generating electricity with 85% coal, so they have some work to do. And the U.S. power sector is 40% coal, and that is a big difference. Green jobs in the U.S. are at 2%. Come on, people. We got to get those jobs up to 30, 40, 50% in order to make this work here. Do you follow me? This is green jobs in the making. And we are celebrating. We're having our cake and eating it too. Middle-aged white man eating all the cake, right? It's always been so. So now, what are we going to do? Is this sustainable? I just had to put him on there. Did you see him that night? He was on Stephen, what's his last name? Colbert, right? Okay, so no, obviously he's not sustainable. All right, but here is a young woman who did a science project, and why can't she stop eating cake? I just had to put that in here. I don't know what her conclusions or what her argument was because I can't read her notes, but the question is, why can't we stop living unsustainably? That's the question. That's where we are today. And last week, the speaker said the medical industrial complex, remember? Well, this is the same thing. Somehow we have to turn those people around to be the heroes of this. We've done it before, we can do it again. What kind of frugality can we practice? That's the big question. May I have a moment to talk to you about Jesus, the polar bear asked. Because the polar bears are having a come to Jesus moment, no doubt about it. And it's up to us. They don't know that we're here, but we know that they're there. What are we going to do? And finally, can we have our cake? And still the generations in the future have theirs. So I invite you to have my chocolate custard cake communion with me. Don't you dare walk out without a piece of my cake. I'll consider you unbaptized, okay? Ready? Yeah, thank you.